Female parasitic narcissists and false abuse allegations. Have you ever wondered how some individuals can twist reality so effectively that even the strongest of people are left questioning their own truth? Female parasitic narcissists, with their cunning manipulation and calculated moves, are masters of creating chaos while maintaining an air of innocence. These individuals often leverage their charm, intelligence, and societal biases to gain sympathy and resources, sometimes going as far as weaponizing false abuse allegations to achieve their goals. But what drives such behavior? Why do these false narratives often succeed in wreaking havoc on the lives of their targets? And how can you protect yourself from falling victim to such tactics? In this video, we'll delve deep into the world of female parasitic narcissists and the devastating impact of their false abuse allegations. From the psychological traits that define these individuals to the tactics they use to manipulate others, we'll uncover the truth about this hidden form of abuse. Whether you've experienced this firsthand or simply want to understand the dynamics at play, this discussion will provide clarity and insight into one of the most damaging behaviors in interpersonal relationships. Stay tuned until the end, where we'll explore ways to identify and counteract these tactics to reclaim your peace and protect your reputation. Welcome to today's video, where we'll dive into a topic that's both complex and deeply important: female parasitic narcissists and their use of false abuse allegations. Before we get started, take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might benefit from understanding these dynamics. Your support helps us bring more awareness to topics that often go undiscussed, but have a profound impact on people's lives. Let's dive into the dangers posed by parasitic narcissists, particularly those who use their charm and vulnerability as tools to manipulate others. Female parasitic narcissists are often skilled at hiding their true nature, presenting a facade that makes them appear helpless or endearing. Unlike overt narcissists, who are blatant in their arrogance and sense of entitlement, parasitic narcissists work in the shadows, weaving their way into the lives of their targets with a more subtle, insidious approach. They embed themselves into relationships and communities, draining others emotionally, financially, and socially without others noticing until it's too late. Their tactics are calculated and deliberate. They are keen on identifying individuals who can provide them with the resources they crave, whether it's financial support, emotional validation, or even an elevated social standing. Once they've successfully attached themselves to someone, they exploit their position, manipulating situations and people around them to meet their needs, often at the expense of those they've targeted. One of the most dangerous and destructive strategies employed by female parasitic narcissists is the use of false abuse allegations. These accusations are not just harmful to the person being targeted, they also undermine the real victims of abuse, complicating the process of obtaining justice for those who truly need it. But what drives these narcissists to take such extreme and harmful actions? The root of their behavior lies in their insatiable need for control and validation. The narcissist thrives on manipulating the perception of themselves, and by positioning themselves as the victim, they create an opportunity to gain sympathy, attention, and, most crucially, legal or financial advantages that they could not otherwise obtain. False abuse claims are particularly potent because they capitalize on societal stereotypes and ingrained biases. Women in general are often viewed as more vulnerable and deserving of protection, which leads many to automatically believe claims of victimhood without much scrutiny. Parasitic narcissists are well aware of this dynamic and exploit it to their advantage. They twist situations to discredit their targets and manipulate others into supporting them, all while positioning themselves as innocent and wronged. The consequences for the victim of such false accusations can be absolutely devastating. They may suffer tarnished reputation, the breakdown of key relationships, and even significant legal repercussions, all of which can leave them feeling isolated and powerless. Meanwhile, the narcissist benefits from these lies, maintaining control over the narrative and continuing to manipulate those around them to secure their own self-interests. Imagine a scenario where a parasitic narcissist has been confronted with their deceitful and manipulative behavior. The person they've been targeting is starting to see through their actions, and the narcissist feels their power slipping away. Instead of acknowledging the issue or taking responsibility for their actions, they retaliate by accusing their partner or target of abuse. This tactic not only diverts attention away from the narcissist's behavior, but also places the target in a defensive position, forcing them to fight to prove their innocence. The narcissist, on the other hand, enjoys the sympathy, support, and validation they receive from others, solidifying their position of power. They thrive in these situations because it reinforces their sense of superiority and control. What makes these situations even more dangerous is the narcissist's ability to manipulate evidence and shape perceptions to suit their narrative. They may exaggerate or distort minor disagreements, twist the facts, or even fabricate stories altogether. In more extreme cases, they might go so far as to physically harm themselves to create the illusion that they are the true victim of abuse. This carefully calculated manipulation makes it incredibly difficult for others to discern the truth, especially when the narcissist is adept at presenting themselves as genuine, sincere, and emotionally fragile. But why do some individuals become particularly vulnerable to parasitic narcissists? Often, the individuals who fall prey to these manipulative tactics are empathetic, caring, and willing to extend trust to others. They are the type of people who see the good in others and are eager to give others the benefit of the doubt, even when there are signs that something is off. They might overlook red flags or rationalize the narcissist's behavior, convincing themselves that they can help the narcissist change, or that they just need a little more time. Unfortunately, this kindness and trust only serve to enable the narcissist, giving them more opportunities to exploit their target's compassion for their own gain. For those who find themselves on the receiving end of false abuse allegations, the experience can be incredibly isolating and overwhelming. The narcissist often works tirelessly to turn friends, family, and even legal authorities against their victim. They will use every tactic in their arsenal to manipulate those around them, making it difficult for the victim to get the support they need. This behavior is known as triangulation, and it is a hallmark of narcissistic tactics. Triangulation involves creating division, mistrust, and confusion between people, effectively isolating the victim from any potential sources of help. By undermining the victim's relationships with others, the narcissist further disempowers them and strengthens their own position. Recovering from an experience like this is incredibly challenging and can feel like an insurmountable task, as it requires not only significant inner strength, but also the right kind of external support. For victims, the road to recovery begins with the crucial step of recognizing the tactics being used against them. Narcissistic abuse can be difficult to identify because it's often subtle and insidious. The victim may initially feel confused, isolated, and unsure of what is happening. It's essential to understand that the false abuse allegations they face are not a reflection of their own character or worth, but are, in fact, a deliberate and calculated manipulation designed to control, harm, and discredit them. These allegations are part of a broader pattern of behavior intended to make the victim question their reality, feel guilty, and doubt their perception of events. By labeling the victim as the abuser, the narcissist distorts the truth and manipulates the victim into believing they are at fault. This deliberate tactic is a tool for maintaining control over the victim and ensuring their own ego and sense of superiority remain intact. To begin the healing process, it is crucial for victims to recognize these manipulative tactics and understand that they are not to blame. This awareness is essential in helping them detach emotionally from the narcissist's influence. The next critical step is seeking professional and legal assistance to counter the narcissist's false claims. A strong legal defense and support system can be a game changer in regaining control over one's life. Legal professionals with experience in narcissistic abuse cases can help build a case that discredits the narcissist's accusations, ensuring the victim's voice is heard and their rights are protected. A skilled lawyer can provide the necessary guidance and representation to protect the victim from the narcissist's manipulation. Beyond the legal aspects, it's just as vital to have emotional and psychological support from trained therapists or counselors who specialize in narcissistic abuse. These professionals can help victims rebuild their sense of self-worth and safety. The emotional toll of narcissistic abuse can be overwhelming, often leaving the victim feeling helpless and devoid of their own identity. Therapy can provide a space to process the trauma, understand the psychological impact of the abuse, and begin the long journey of reclaiming self-esteem and emotional well-being. In many cases, recovery is a long, difficult journey that requires immense patience, dedication, and resilience. The road to healing is rarely linear, and victims often face setbacks along the way. It's important to remember that while the healing process may be slow, it is entirely possible to recover and build a new, healthier future. The first step in healing is recognizing that the narcissist's actions were never truly about the victim. They were always about the narcissist's desperate need for power, control, and validation. This realization can be incredibly liberating because it shifts the focus away from the victim's perceived flaws or guilt and places the blame squarely on the narcissist's behavior. The narcissist uses others as a means to an end, manipulating them for their own gain, and the victim becomes a casualty of their toxic need for dominance. Understanding this core truth allows the victim to free themselves from the emotional grip the narcissist once had on them, and it paves the way for them to move forward toward a healthier, more empowered future. As we've seen throughout this discussion, female parasitic narcissists and their use of false abuse allegations represent one of the most toxic and damaging dynamics in interpersonal relationships. These individuals engage in a pattern of manipulation and deceit that can be emotionally, mentally, and even legally devastating for their victims. By recognizing the traits and tactics of these individuals, we can begin to protect ourselves and others from falling prey to their manipulation. The more we understand their behavior, the more equipped we become to recognize the signs early and take the necessary steps to protect ourselves and those we care about. Raising awareness of these harmful dynamics is key to preventing narcissistic abuse from taking root in the first place. The more we talk about it, the less power the narcissist has to operate in the shadows and continue their destructive behavior unchecked. Sharing information, offering support, and fostering understanding are essential components of breaking the cycle of narcissistic abuse. If you found this video helpful, I encourage you to like, subscribe, and share it with others who might benefit from this important information. Your support helps to create a stronger community of individuals who are empowered with knowledge, and it allows us to continue exploring these crucial topics and providing valuable insights. Every view, like, and share contributes to raising awareness and supporting those who need it most. Remember, knowledge is power, and awareness is the first critical step toward reclaiming control over your life. The more we understand about narcissistic abuse and the manipulation tactics narcissists use, the more prepared we are to navigate these difficult situations and protect our emotional well-being. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and please take care of yourself and those around you. Your healing is not only possible, but entirely within your reach, and with the right support, you can begin to rebuild your life and reclaim the peace, self-worth, and empowerment that you deserve. How long after being dumped does the narcissist realize how much losing you hurts? If you've ever wondered how much a narcissist truly feels the sting of losing someone they once manipulated and controlled, you're in for a shocking revelation. Many people believe narcissists are immune to emotional pain, but in reality, their reaction to being dumped can be far more complex and hurtful than anyone might expect. As we explore this deeply, you'll understand why the narcissist doesn't always immediately feel the consequences of losing you, and more importantly, why that moment of realization can be even more painful for them than it is for you. Stick around, because the answers are not only unexpected, but also eye-opening. Welcome, and thanks for joining us today. Before we dive in, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and share this video with others who might be in need of this valuable insight. Understanding the mindset of a narcissist, especially after a breakup, is something that can empower you and help you make better decisions in your own relationships. So, let's begin by taking a closer look at what happens when a narcissist realizes they've lost someone they never thought they would lose. As you're likely aware, a narcissist often seems emotionally detached, particularly when it comes to feelings like empathy. Their arrogance, entitlement, and self-absorption often create an image of someone who is invulnerable to emotional pain. They give the impression that nothing, especially something as trivial as emotional discomfort, can touch them. But what we will uncover here is the truth behind this seemingly unshakable exterior. Once the validation they constantly seek is stripped away, their true reaction to the loss can be both complex and revealing. The process is not instantaneous, and it often takes time for them to fully recognize the gravity of the emotional void that has been created. When a narcissist experiences rejection or is dumped, the response that follows is rarely one of sadness or reflection. In fact, sorrow and self-reflection are emotions they often seem incapable of processing in a healthy way. Instead, their first instinct is frequently one of rage, disbelief, or a dramatic sense of entitlement, as though they are somehow above or immune to rejection. They may act as though they are entitled to continue the relationship on their terms, regardless of how toxic or damaging their behavior might have been. So why does this happen? For narcissists, losing control over someone they once had power over is extremely destabilizing. It forces them to confront feelings of inadequacy, self-doubt, and failure, emotions that they habitually suppress or bury under layers of denial. The idea that someone could reject them shakes the very foundation of their inflated self-image, and this injury to their pride often triggers an angry outburst. They lash out, not because they genuinely want to hurt you, but because they are desperately trying to protect themselves from acknowledging their own vulnerability. However, the deeper emotional pain that comes with losing you doesn't immediately surface. Narcissists have a tendency to compartmentalize emotions that are difficult to deal with, particularly those related to grief and loss. This ability to suppress their feelings helps them temporarily avoid the uncomfortable reality of their situation. But while they may appear unaffected in the short term, the emotional weight of losing someone doesn't disappear. It simply gets pushed to the background until it becomes impossible to ignore. Once the initial shock and anger subside, and after their attempts at manipulation or hoovering have failed to bring you back into their orbit, a shift starts to occur. This shift is subtle at first, but can become more pronounced over time, usually weeks or even months after the breakup. This is when the narcissist begins to realize, often for the first time, the true magnitude of what they've lost. It's important to note that this realization isn't driven by love or genuine emotional attachment to you. Instead, it is rooted in the void left by the loss of a crucial source of narcissistic supply. Narcissistic supply is the validation, admiration, and attention that a narcissist feeds off to maintain their sense of self-worth and superiority. It is not about forming deep, meaningful connections or sharing genuine affection. It's about the narcissist's constant need for external affirmation. When they lose a primary source of supply, such as a partner, close friend, or family member, it's as though they are being deprived of the very thing they rely on to feel important and powerful. Without this source of validation, they feel empty, unimportant, and insignificant. Initially, the narcissist may attempt to replace you with someone else who can provide similar validation. They may seek out a new relationship, try to draw attention from others, or even use manipulation to regain control over the situation. But despite their efforts, there comes a moment when they begin to feel the emptiness more acutely. It's during this time that they start to recognize, however reluctantly, that no one can quite replicate the unique role you once played in their life. The realization stings deeply because, on some level, they understand that losing you means losing the one person who truly saw and fed into their need for constant validation and admiration. No new supply can ever fully replace the connection they had with you, and this truth becomes increasingly painful as time goes on. In this stage, the narcissist may attempt to downplay their feelings or mask their vulnerability by outwardly appearing unaffected. They might boast about how they are moving on or claim that they don't need anyone in their life. But underneath the bravado, there is a deep sense of loss, an emotional scar that refuses to heal. They are not experiencing the grief of losing a genuine emotional connection, but are instead feeling the impact of losing someone who served as a source of their self-esteem and personal power. This kind of loss is uniquely difficult for a narcissist because it forces them to confront the fact that their self-worth was never truly self-generated. Instead, it was entirely dependent on the approval and attention of others. The narcissist's delayed realization of loss is often accompanied by frustration. They may search for ways to regain what they've lost, but their inability to connect with others on a meaningful level only intensifies the emptiness. The new people they attempt to engage with will never be able to fulfill the same role you did, and this realization can cause a deep, lingering sense of dissatisfaction. They will try to convince themselves that they don't need you, that they are better off without you, but deep inside, they know the truth, that no one will ever fully replace the validation you once provided. The pain of losing this source of narcissistic supply will continue to haunt them, even as they move on to new relationships or new pursuits in an attempt to fill the void. The narcissist's struggle with the loss of your validation isn't just about missing a person. It's about losing their sense of self-importance. Without the attention and admiration they once received from you, they are forced to confront the reality that their identity was never as solid as they like to believe. This realization, though deeply uncomfortable, is often the closest thing to self-awareness that a narcissist will ever experience. Unfortunately, they are unlikely to fully understand or internalize this realization in a healthy way. Instead, they may channel their frustration into new attempts at manipulation or control, seeking out new sources of narcissistic supply in hopes of regaining the power and validation they lost. But no matter how many new people they try to use to fill the void, the reality remains. The loss of you will never truly be something they can erase. The delay in the narcissist's recognition of how much losing you hurts is also linked to cognitive dissonance. This psychological phenomenon occurs when a person holds two contradictory beliefs or attitudes. For the narcissist, the belief that they are superior to others clashes with the emotional vulnerability they experience when their supply is taken away. To reconcile this dissonance, they may first downplay the importance of the relationship or convince themselves that they are better off without you. However, over time, the realization that they have lost something significant begins to take root. This process is often slow and painful for them, as it requires confronting the truth of their own limitations and vulnerabilities. So, why it takes so long for a narcissist to feel the loss? Understanding why it takes so long for a narcissist to feel the pain of losing you comes down to their emotional makeup. Narcissists typically have a shallow emotional range, and they often rely on external validation to feel good about themselves. Their self-worth is tied to how others view them, and the loss of someone who played an important role in their narcissistic supply causes a disruption in their identity. Additionally, narcissists have an inability to process loss in a healthy, mature way. Instead of grieving in the traditional sense, they may become obsessed with revenge, with winning or reclaiming what they lost, or with finding someone else to fill the void. Their emotional responses are often delayed because they are preoccupied with maintaining their inflated sense of self. Once the narcissist is forced to confront the fact that they can no longer manipulate or control you, shame sets in. This is when the true emotional pain begins. Shame, which they usually go to great lengths to avoid, can be excruciating for a narcissist. They fear being exposed for their flaws and mistakes, and the thought that you have finally seen through their facade is often a bitter pill to swallow. Moreover, the narcissist may begin to fear abandonment on a deeper level, even though they may never admit this fear to anyone, including themselves. Their deep-seated insecurity is exposed when they realize you no longer want or need them in your life, and this realization can trigger anxiety and despair. What happens after the realization hits? Once the narcissist realizes how much losing you truly hurts, their next move can vary. They may attempt to hoover you back into their life through guilt, manipulation, or playing the victim. They may start reaching out, pretending to be vulnerable, or trying to make amends, but it's crucial to remember that these efforts are not driven by genuine remorse. They are motivated by a desperate need to regain their supply. For some narcissists, the realization of loss becomes a challenge to their pride. They may lash out further or escalate their efforts to punish you for leaving, attempting to make you feel guilty or responsible for their pain. It's part of the cycle of manipulation that often follows. Thank you for staying with us through this deep dive into the complex psychology of narcissism. It's crucial to understand that narcissists don't experience loss the way most people do. Their pain is delayed, distorted, and often disconnected from any sense of true emotional connection. Recognizing this can help you avoid falling back into their traps and allow you to heal and move forward in your own life. If you found this video valuable, please like, subscribe, and share with others who may be going through similar experiences. We're all in this together, and your support helps us continue to provide these important insights. We'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. What's your take on the narcissist's delayed realization of loss? Until next time, stay strong and remember that your worth isn't tied to someone else's ability to see it.